Can you name the place in Croatia that every year the likes of Barcelona, Roma come and take part in an international football competition? Take a look here at this picture taken in the 1980s, and this is the stadium where this competition takes place. And as you can see, fast forwarding to today, in 2009, a really high quality stadium with 5,200 spectators opened. And this stadium is obviously the envy of every Dinamo fan with their Maksimir. But it also has all the requirements, technical requirements for the Croatian Football Association and also UEFA to host junior events and also UEFA matches as well. The town is Dugopolje, which was first mentioned in 1283. But really only came into its own in 1997. Previously it was in a sleepy village and part of the municipality of Klis, which is famous for Game of Thrones, of course, and then before that from Solin. And in 1997 it became its own municipality and its fortunes started to change. There was a project to build a motorway from Zagreb to Split, which ran right by Dugopolje, and it now today is known, probably best known as the exit on the motorway to Split as you come down. But as part of that development, the Dugopolje economic zone was built, and today it is probably one of the most important retail and logistic parks in the whole of Croatia. And fortunes really started to go when the furniture giant Lesnina decided to open a big store here. That was in about the early 2000s, and since then there are now 300 businesses that have relocated and opened their businesses here in this park just off the motorway. So if you're coming for shopping, it's probably the best place in Dalmatia to come to buy your kitchens and all sorts of things. There's a really wide variety of stuff to go for. And those 300 companies have generated over 2,000 jobs. And so today, Dugopolje is the #1 in the region in Dalmatia and possibly even in the country for the ratio of population to jobs. For every 1,000 inhabitants, and that's including the children, there are 911 people employed in Dugopolje. So the municipality has been very cautious about planning everything. They're making sure before they expand zones that they have everything done in terms of infrastructure so people can then come in. And because of that planning, more and more businesses have the confidence to buy land here and to move it. In other places in Croatia, what people do is they buy the land and then try and get the connections, and it can take years. But Dugopolje has been very forward thinking about that. And so they're having a very carefully structured expansion. This is also now becoming extremely attractive for people in Split, where the prices are quite high and things are busy, and people are wanting to come out into a bit more into nature and lifestyle. It's only a 15-minute drive into Split. You're right on the motorway. It has the best shopping in Dalmatia. And now they are expanding residential zones with a maximum of 3 stories, maximum of 12 apartments per building and 2 garages per each. So they're trying to expand. They don't want to get too big. The population now is around about 4,500, I think. Back in 2011 in the census it was about 3,400. So this is one of the few places in Croatia where the population is actually increasing. There's almost full employment. I think it's 4% unemployment, which is about as low as you go in Croatia. And there's really a sense of optimism that things are moving forward. What I love about the positioning of Dugopolje is you're right on the motorway, but you're also right on the Split to Sin crossroads as well, and so this really is the gateway to inland Dalmatia as well, and the Romans knew that as well, and they now have restored some of the Roman roads that were used 2,000 years ago, and there's a little thing you can do there to learn about that. And so with this expansion, there are also quite a lot of international companies taking an interest here. So you have, for example, a French business park which has been funded here, and on that you'll find, quite surprisingly, the Split International School. So there is an international school with international teachers and programme which has between 70 and 80 pupils, diplomats' children, expat children, but also Croatians as well. And this started in Split, but it's expanded and they've moved out to Dugopolje. And it's run by a guy who was originally from Dugopolje, who then moved to the States and has now moved back. And so this is one example of how the quality of life in Dugopolje is really increasing from what was really just a village. As a retail park it's fantastic, but also as a logistics park. And you can see here some of the biggest names in Croatian supermarkets are based here. So you have here Tommy, their huge warehouse, and look at this warehouse from Konzum. It's probably, I would think, maybe even the biggest building in the whole of Croatia. So it's absolutely huge. And so this is a really important focal point now for Dalmatia and for the country. Going back to sports, we have the football stadium here. It's not just about football. You see here you have the artificial pitches here, so you can have nighttime games as well. They've got solar panels now on the roof, so they're going to be sort of energy efficient that way. And right next to it you have a really nice restaurant, and where we had lunch. And just take a look at, this is what we had, this sort of classic prosciutto and cheese, and then we had a really nice sort of platter here, really nice. And they have up here a tasting room as well, where they can organise events, and you can have a tasting of up to 60 different types of Dalmatian wines and wines from the rest of Croatia. So this is really, and then if you want to watch the game, I mean, why not have a beer, a glass of wine, and just sit here? And it's just it's really sort of nice place to be. And right next to it there is what's planned to be an Olympic-sized swimming pool up to 50 metres, which is under construction and needs to get going again. But once that's completed, this will be a really first-class sporting facility. So much so that football teams from places like Germany and Austria, the second-tier leagues, they actually come down to Dugopolje for winter training. So this potential for developing sport tourism, I mentioned about Barcelona at the beginning. There is a youth competition every year where the teams from Croatia and all around the region, they come, and they include some of the big names such as Barcelona, Bayern Munich and Roma. But also in October every year they have a youth football tournament called Prvi Korak, First Step, where up to 2,000 kids come down and take part in this 4-day event. So this is a type of tourism that we don't really talk about much in Croatia, but somewhere like Dugopolje, where it's a little bit cheaper, a little bit more space, very accessible through the motorway, and with excellent facilities, is something that can be really built on. And tourism really took a boom about 10-15 years ago with the opening of Hotel Katarina. It was the first 4-star hotel in Dugopolje, and unfortunately got into financial difficulties during COVID and had to close. But before it did, it actually had more overnight stays than the whole of Zagorje together. And people were coming who on tours to Split were staying overnight. A lot of these kids were coming for these football tournaments and so on. And now there is talk of the hotel actually reopening again. And if it does, it's in this concentrated zone where the sports centre is and where the hotel is. And right next to it is another addition that's come in with the EU funds, is the Hidden Dalmatia Interpretation Centre. And this is what's planned to be a focal point for the distribution of tourism to inland Dalmatia. So you have amazing things like Klis, like Scene, Thriel, loads and loads of heritage and nature and activities. And it's quite hard to actually go and discover these things. So now we have this interpretation centre where people can come and they can get all the information about the different tours and get things arranged. And so one of the tourism initiatives for 2024 is something called the Green Line, where they're putting on this transfer from the Riva in Split to the Hidden Dalmatia Visitor Centre here in Dugopolje. And as you can see from this red bus here and these tourists that are coming in, it's something that's bringing people away from the busy parts on the coast and coming out to explore what is a magnificent region in inland Dalmatia. And there's lots of information here, there's lots of promotional videos that you can sit down and watch, there's lots of things for the kids that look very interactive, and then from here you can organise tours to go and see places like Scene and Thriel and Imotski and Vrlica and places like that. So not only is it becoming a hub for logistics and for retail, but it's also becoming a hub for the tourism inland in Dalmatia as well. And there's plenty to see, and one of the great things that Dugopolje has, I'm standing here now on the way to the mountain of Mosor, which is one of the natural pearls of Dalmatia. And this is a place that's very wild and rugged, and is very popular for things like hiking, cycling, horse riding. So if you want to get out truly into nature, you're 15 minutes from Split. This mountain is really beautiful, as you can see. And this is another attraction now as people start looking to adventure tourism in Croatia rather than just sitting on the beach. And this region in Dalmatia has an absolute wealth of adventure tourism options to offer, and Dugopolje very much is at the heart of starting that. The most famous attraction in Dugopolje is actually underground. And in 1903, the owner of a piece of land stumbled upon a little hole, and he went down and had a look. And he found Vranacha Cave, which is one of the really top attractions in this sort of caving section of tourism in Croatia. It's two different chambers. The first one is 65 by 20 metres, and then you go down and through to the one below, which is 100 metres by 60 metres. Nothing has changed there in the whole 125 years since it's been discovered, apart from they've put in some steps all the way down with rails and some lighting. So it's really quite spectacular to visit, and it has a constant temperature of 15 degrees, and so it's privately run. The owner has opening times, which it's always best to check if you're actually open, but it's definitely well worth coming to see. And this is on the way to Mosor. This is again part of the natural beauty of Dalmatia. That's it. We have Dugopolje, translates as Long Field, and as you can see from the photo here with little crossroads, this is how Longfield looked in the 1980s. This is how it looks today. It's become a premier connection point for inland Dalmatia, for the rest of Croatia to Split, a massive logistics hub, a really comprehensive retail park. It's creating jobs, it's creating an expansion within the community itself. People are there now building responsibly 3 stories. And the mayor, who I sat and had a coffee with yesterday, he said, we don't want to be Las Vegas. For us, if we can get up to about 6,000 people, that's absolutely our maximum. We don't want to lose our identity to all this. So it's an interesting one to watch, and it's a sign of a small community in Croatia that didn't necessarily have a lot going for it. With a little bit of luck with the motorway coming and with some good strategic planning from the people that run it, can turn into quite a success story. So next time you're coming down the motorway and you're popping into Split, why not check out Google Puglia?